let's take a look at where we are at the moment. So zooming in, and let's deal with what we're facing at the moment here. One of the key things I like marking up straight away when I get onto a chart is I like taking all the key annotations off of the chart and then looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, okay? And I'm asking myself the question of what's capping the market, first of all. So for me, this is of interest. That's because when we've come up, we've set this high, the market's then failed to close beyond that. And we've now had a number of attempts at this. And then if we're looking for the same on the downside, okay, this was obviously a key level here. We have come in and we've run this level now, this liquidity. But in terms of where we were getting resistance down here, I also like that as a level. Now, whenever we're looking and trading any kind of range, then it can make sense to add an equilibrium as well, right? So we can do that just by using a simple range, put on a Fibonacci with a 1, a 0.5, and then a 0, right? And what we can see here, we can see price moving around in here, came above here, had the over, under, then price has pushed up again, and we're definitely being capped within here. So realistically, now if we're saying to ourselves, okay, well, what are we looking to target potentially on the downside? Something to consider is this. And let's make that a little bit smaller. So the reason that we're considering this is the liquidity now that's been swept by this move lower. Obviously, it's also taken out all the liquidity below these lows here that was untapped as well. The next thing that we want to really be aware of is what's drawing price lower. And for me, we're looking at this fair value gap here, all right? So we can start to see a picture here. Price has struggled to get back above these highs. We've now had this sell-off. We're in line with equity markets, with indexes, which we'll take a look at as well. And we're seeing this pullback here as we saw a little bit of strength in DXY yesterday as well. So we see what's drawing price lower. Yeah, we've also got the orders in here to consider. So we've got our EQ, or our 50% line, right? So that's our range midline. So we can see that price is now being drawn down. So how does that play into our overall thinking? If we now pop onto a 4-hour chart, and we can see at the moment that this liquidity is being respected here. We've come down into here. We've also taken out this low here, which is important. There would have definitely been some stops below there. So that's now been taken as well. So what we're saying to ourselves, okay, is we've run liquidity down here. Is this enough to now make price kind of continue and get back into a bullish formation? Or are we looking for price to drop lower? So we know we've got our daily fair value gap here. So when we overlay this with our 4-hour here as well, right, we can see, and I don't always leave these on the charts, guys, just so that obviously it looks a little bit cleaner when they're not, but you can see the confluence from this area, right? This is just, a more refined reflection of what we're looking at on the daily. This is what's drawing price lower. But also what's drawing price lower is liquidity underneath here and here. So if we've now taken that, keeping exactly the same principles in mind, then we've clearly now left this fair value gap here. So could price be drawing up into this? Drawing up into here, yeah? And what we'd obviously be looking for here is something like this, not obviously if we want to plug this into a short bias, right? And what we'd be saying is if price is coming up, we'd like to see this fair value gap filled, or maybe it doesn't get completely filled, but that kind of move here where we'd want to see this high swept, right? We'd want to see that sweep, and then we'd want to see the low that sweeps that high, closed below, and then we'd look in here for any fair value gaps on the lower time frame, or even a retest of this line here, our stops above here, expecting price to push down to fill this inefficiency here, the fair value gap. And also what we've got as extra confluence here is we're saying, okay, well, now if this liquidity has been taken, it doesn't quite give the fuel for a reversal, obviously we would be looking here, right? And we'd be saying to ourselves, well, if we come up above here, then we still need to contend with this line. But if we break this structure to the upside, then, we would need further confirmation because price could easily deviate this. Yeah. Price could do something very similar. It comes up, deviates here and then breaks down, in which case we'd then be looking for shorts on this kind of line here, obviously better drawn than that. But this way, we're kind of keeping our bias open. We're saying, okay, maybe this is enough taking out these lows to fuel a move higher, or maybe we're still looking for liquidity further down. And if that's the case, then as we start looking into these moves, like we said, we've got our fair value gap down here. That's what we believe is drawing price lower. And if we switch back to our daily chart as well, what we can notice here is that actually we're still holding structure, right? So here's our low, high, higher low. This was the break of market structure to the upside. Fine, it didn't hold, but we could easily be seeing a pullback into this region here, setting another higher low before price then looks to move further up. We do still have the inefficiencies above that I'd like to see filled. Again, what I'd like to see happen and what actually happens are two very different things, but using the same principles is how we can keep our consistency, right? And what we're saying to ourselves is if this is a draw on price up here, right, as it has shown previously, this fair value gap here drew price up before it broke down. This one here was filled on this move down here, the same way that this one here was filled on this move up. And we didn't get a full fill of this one, this fair value gap here, but it came up pretty high. So again, it provides good confluence for us in terms of what we believe is drawing price. So now we go back to our 4 hour. What else do we want to consider here? Is we're saying to ourselves, okay, what else could be drawing price as well? What else makes us feel that this could be a deeper corrective move? Could be this order block down here, right? So if we draw this across here, and we'll do this in a different color. So there we're saying, so okay, 4 hour order block, right? We can still maintain market structure by pulling down into this, obviously on a daily scale. On the 4 hour scale, we've now broken market structure to the downside, which is another reason for us to consider that this could be a pullback into this area here before moving lower. So that is what's currently in my mind. I'm now looking into the start of the New York session as well. So what are we going to do? We could get a pump up into that, and then we could obviously get that drop. So we want to keep an eye on that. We'll obviously keep an eye on the DXY as well. So if we're going to drop to our executable time frame, then it becomes really, really clear what we want to see, right? So let me delete these for now. We're expecting a corrective move higher. Once again, using exactly the same principles, what could be drawing price higher? And we'd have to look at this fair value gap here. So now if that's drawing price up, we've got obviously this here as well that price could look to fill. Then when we get up into here, if we're expecting price to correct down, then again, what we want to be looking for is as we get these moves, maybe we reject here, maybe we push up a bit higher. But either way, as long as we're looking for our confirmation, then we can get some really good entries in here, right, on the lower time frames. And once again, I'd be looking for a high to be swept. And then I'd want to see this retested or a fair value gap down somewhere in this move lower. And then I'd be looking to short this in. You've got a nice clean first target of these lows down here. But overall, as we said, when we go on to the higher time frame, we could be looking to trade right down into this order block, or certainly looking to fill this inefficiency lower. So what I like about this is we've come in, we've taken out the liquidity from the lows here. We're now drawing back into a key area of interest. So I'm going to be looking for market structure and then looking to see if we get that breakdown. If we continue to show strength and push higher, great. I think for me on a higher time frame, we really need to see this level up here taken. We could even see with this move a correction higher to take out liquidity above these highs here. That which has been swept there, but we've got this and this relative equal highs. So that again could be a target. And once again, we're just going to look to see how price pans out. And for this, we just want to see this move higher. We're looking for this structure break after a sweep and then looking to trade it down lower. Okay, so let's pop back onto our daily quickly. We get a lot of requests for ETH as well. But before we go into that, I just want to cover the DXY. Okay, so the dollar index, again, we're using this as countercorrelated asset to Bitcoin. So we're saying with this, our principle, our theory is when this is running hot, there's a lot of strength and a lot going into the dollar, then we're expecting the opposite for risk assets like Bitcoin. Same with this when we get these down moves on the DXY, then we expect risk assets to do well. Now, it's been a little bit choppy recently towards crypto. We've had a lot of news-driven affected market. However, it still does ring true, and it's still something that we need to consider. But again, guys, this isn't, this silver bullet. This is just something that we want to be considering, right, as part of our overall plan. So we're looking here now. If we see the dollar coming back, then that's a positive thing when we're looking at risk. So we'd be looking for long plays, right, on Bitcoin and crypto, but we would want to see the dollar breakdown, right? Because at the moment we've taken out these highs on a 4 hour, we're looking bullish, but all we need to do is break structure here, see price start to come down, and I think we see that pump in risk, okay? So we want to keep an eye on that. Also, traditional markets, ES isn't looking particularly strong at the moment. We did find some temporary relief here. Again, we came up, took out these equal highs, got our breakdown, right? Short into these equal lows, relative equal lows. We've then come into this key high time frame SR level. Now the big question is, can we find support here? Are we just digging a little bit deeper maybe towards these lows here to find some liquidity before moving up? That's going to play into our theory as well, right? Because normally you see the correlation between the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and crypto as well, okay? So again, if we start to see strength in this, we'd be looking more favorably at Bitcoin. Until, however, we do start to see some strength in that, then we should be looking to approach it with caution, all right? So we can see how our trade plan's coming together. Excuse me for a moment while I pour my very British tea. Okay, so let's take a look at ETH. Shut that down now. And again, we're going to go on to our daily. This level was key for me with ETH. We didn't run this low, right? So I really would have liked to have seen that liquidity taken here and then to kind of fuel the move higher. We got some opportunities on the way up, actually, which is fine. And obviously, since we've had this break here, but price again really kind of it's come up. It's taken these highs here. We clearly got a lot of liquidity set up here. We're still obviously in a bullish structure on the daily. So once again, what are we looking for? Where has price failed to close above? Very similar to Bitcoin in this respect. So that's the key level that we want to see reclaimed. All right. Now, again, we haven't really kind of swept these lows. So in terms of looking at what's capping the market as such, we haven't closed beyond this, but we also haven't closed beyond this. So while that's our untapped liquidity below, that's an area of interest for me there. And then once again, I'm looking to put my range on here. And we can see we've got our equilibrium there. All right. So I know range purists and bits and pieces, it's all about being consistent with these and where you're placing them. I'm using this just more as a guide for where the midline is, right? Because if I'm expecting a pullback into this, then this becomes a key area for me. And just as we did with Bitcoin, but we're going to look at this on a daily scale here as well and talk about this order block. Again, we've now filled this fair value gap, yeah? So actually, we've not got that drawing price down now, so it's probably this daily order block that's pulling price down where we might see our reversal. If we pop onto our 4 hour, and here we go, we can see how price came down into this. We've got our fill. Price came down, just dropped underneath this now. So that's been filled. So we're saying to ourselves, okay, that's done. Inefficiency has been met. We've got another little one down here. Right, so that's always worthy of note. So we mark that up here, draw that across and say to ourselves, okay, maybe that's what's kind of drawing price down lower. So again, we wouldn't really look to be getting in here, not really great risk to reward, is it? So what we can do is exactly as we did with Bitcoin. We can mark out our fair value gap here. Now, one thing that we've got here, obviously, we want to be aware of is we've run this low, yeah? So we've now taken this liquidity below here. Next liquidity is resting under here. And obviously, in this fair value gap will be a drawn price. And then this is where we would expect in here the orders to be. So again, if we want to drop this down into a lower time frame, we can start to get and refine our trade plan a bit further. So we've had this price come down here, taken out this liquidity. What was really nice about this move here is how we kind of took out these equal highs over here. Price came in, took them out. We had this big impulse move high. Then when we broke market structure to the downside here, We came back, retested this area, and obviously had this big sell-off. Now, this is quite an impulsive move to the downside. It's quite a drop, right? So we've now come into a key area of interest here where we'd be looking for potential long opportunities. However, we would be countering the current trend, right? So we would want to see a bit more confirmation here before we go in. Exactly the same as we were on Bitcoin. I'm still looking much more for how price starts to develop here. Yeah. So maybe we get something like this, in which case then we've got a nice clean target of these lows here. We'd be looking for our entries around here. And then we've obviously got our extended targets, which is the fair value gap here, and also the order block below. Okay. So look, guys, wanted to do this just nice and punchy for you, get this one out. Hope you've enjoyed the format of it. Hope it's been informative for you. If you do have any questions, please do come along and catch us at the Bird Nest. You can find details below in the description, and you can follow me on Twitter as well at BC_Richfield. So if you've got any questions, do pop along, come and be part of the community. You can come and you can get a free trial, come and meet everyone, see how you like it. But you can obviously connect with me on Twitter as well. Okay, so wishing you all a fantastic week, and I'll catch you all around the nest.